Um, if you wouldn't mind putting your co-op, your name and your co-op in the chat so we can know who's from where. I like to spend time talking with each of you individually as we get started, but we don't have time to spend too much time on that when we have just 1 hour together. So put your name in the chat and we'll get started. This is Coffee with Katie, which is a monthly free networking and educational event I host as a way to kind of give back to the cooperative community using Principle 6, co-ops, helping co-ops. And I have been fortunate to learn so much from other co-ops and continue to learn from all of you. So this is a way for us to connect and learn from each other. So I'm glad you're here. Today, we are talking about email drip campaigns. So I'm going to share my screen quick. Now it's going to require that I move these things. Okay, I believe. There we go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Great, great. Before we get too far in here, who on the call has used, who knows what an email drip campaign is? First of all, let's start there.
Doesn't it pertain to just like slowly starting out with
Yeah,
campaigning your
yeah. Yep, Debbie, it is. It's a, you think about a drip of water. It's pieces of information, a drop at a time, basically via email. Has anyone used email drip campaigns?
Not yet, but we're getting ready.
Good. Well, this is good timing. This is good timing. Buck, you mentioned as we were chatting before we got started today that something similar happens in an organization that you're involved with. Would you mind sharing that with the group?
Yes, I'm one of the organizers of a kind of river fest thing in our city, Hudson, Wisconsin, near the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And for in the run up to Riverfest, we do a media release weekly starting 5 weeks before. And we have enough content that it's different each time. Not only the graphics and the pictures of past events are different, but also the text is different.
Yeah. So that's a form of basically what we're trying to do with our email drip campaigns is you're providing information, different, reliable, useful information on a regular basis leading up to an event with the purpose of promoting that event.
Katie, would that be for ownership growth as well as for the capital campaign?
Yeah, this can be useful in lots of scenarios, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. It's Darlene, right?
Yep,
Yes,
Eileen couldn't
Okay.
make it today, so I'm here for Purple Carrot.
Gotcha. Okay, good deal. I thought I recognized you, and it says Purple Carrot. Oh yeah, there it
Yep.
says Darlene. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So exactly, Darlene. This can be used for endless scenarios, really, and we'll talk about some of them. And I'll give you 2 examples of those scenarios. But we're going to get into the details today of what an email drip campaign really is, how they're going to be useful to us as cooperators, and then some tips and tricks that I like to use when I'm creating an email drip campaign. And then I'm going to give you 2 examples, 2 ways that you could put them to use, hopefully right now at your co-op. And the good thing about email drip campaigns is that it's highly automated if you're using a platform that allows you to automate the process. So an email drip campaign, as we've said in other ways, it's a scheduled sequence of automated emails. So that's really important to keep in mind that many of the email platforms that we're using, like Constant Contact or MailChimp, allow us to automate this process. So you invest some time and energy up front to create the campaign, but then the system is automated and it takes care of it for you. So it's very user friendly once you get it set up and once you get your goals and your process lined out. But I like to think of an email drip campaign is like someone cooking a meal. So you're adding the right ingredient at the right time. just the right amount at just the right time. And really that's what we're doing in an email drip campaign. If you've attended any of my sessions before, one of the things I talk about quite frequently is the fact that it takes 7 to 9 touches for someone to take action with the co-op, whether that's become an owner or join your mailing list or whatever the action might be for you. And an automated campaign, an email drip campaign, can take care of 4 or 5 of those touches for you without you having to do too much, without a lot of effort. So it really can be a unique and helpful tool. I know for sure that Constant Contact offers this option. And I even went through this morning and kind of practiced creating one so that I'd have it fresh in my mind. But it's very simple, and you can schedule it out. So, we can say, 30 days from now, send this email. And after 30 days from that day, send email number 2, and so on and so forth. So it can be really useful for you and really easy. One way I have seen these email drip campaigns play out in my own life recently has been when I'm shopping online. So I put something in my shopping cart, but I never purchase it. I never execute. And 9 times out of 10, within a day or 2, I get an email from that company saying, hey, you forgot something in your shopping cart. And then a day or 2 after that, I get a coupon that says, that item that you were looking at is 30% off today, And so they're using this, they're applying this technique. The trigger that started this domino effect, that started this series of drip emails, was me putting something in my shopping cart. And now they know, oh, okay, she's interested in this. We're going to talk to her about it. And so that's really what we're doing in our campaigns, but applying that to the cooperative world. Okay, so why are they useful? Well, just in that scenario that I just used with the shopping cart, it reminds me, oh, hey, I forgot to check out. It leads me to the path that company wants me to take. It inspires me to do something. Oh, yeah, I forgot I didn't check out. Or, yeah, I want to buy that and I want to get something else to go along with it. And it allows me the chance to engage with the company. So in that email, it might tell me more about their sustainability practices, or it might tell me something I didn't know about the organization. And it gives that company an opportunity to educate me. And for us, the same tactics apply. So it can help us lead potential owners to becoming owners. As Darlene mentioned, it could lead co-op owners, people who are already owners, to invest further in the co-op by buying shares or preferred stock, depending on what's happening with your capital campaign. It can lead people who join your mailing list to like your Facebook page. We can do lots of things with an email drip campaign. But 2 of the things that I think are most important are that engagement and the education. As co-op owners, especially if you have been an owner of your co-op for quite some time, clearly you're active and engaged because you're here. But there are people who joined the co-op when you did who aren't active and engaged. They might not know as much about the co-op as you do. And so these kinds of emails, this email drip campaign gives us the opportunity to educate those owners and bring them along with us, and hopefully inspire them to be more active and more engaged, maybe volunteer, serve on the board, recruit other owners. It really is a very useful tool. So what are my tips for an active or a successful email drip campaign? First of all, you want to set a goal. I don't know why these come up one at a time here, but here we go. So you want to set a goal for your campaign, and you want to make sure that that goal is measurable and realistic. And so in the instance, Darlene, that you provided, if we're measuring capital campaign participation, we can easily measure that with dollars. But maybe we want to measure conversions from joining our newsletter to liking our Facebook page, or the people who have joined our newsletter who become owners, or maybe we want to increase the number of volunteers at an event. So we want to make sure that we set a specific goal and that we have criteria to measure that goal with. Segmenting your audience is critical here. And I have done sessions on segmenting, writing newsletters, and I'm a huge advocate for segmenting your owner list or segmenting your contact list. You should absolutely, at a very minimum, be able to send a separate email to people who are owners of your co-op or members of your co-op and people who are not. Those are two very different messages. And when you approach them with the specific terminology that applies to each of them, your success rate in converting them to whatever it is you're going to convert them to, whether that's investors or owners, is much more successful. So absolutely, segmentation is critical in a drip campaign because this is very targeted, very specific communication to a very specific audience. And if you did an email drip campaign with your entire contact list, you're not going to be as successful as if you segment. Okay, so using an automated platform is pretty important. It's possible to manage this kind of campaign. So sending a series of emails over time that are kicked off by an activating event. You can do that you could do that manually, but it's very labor intensive. And I don't think it'd be as effective in terms of your investment of time. And if you're not using an automated system. So using your email system and the features that it includes to automate this process is really important. And then these email should be upbeat, informational, happy, excited. This isn't kind of a gloom and doom type of a campaign. We want people to be interested and excited and happy to read and open those emails. You want to figure out what your activating event is. What is that trigger point? In the example I used, the trigger point was me putting something in my cart. So depending on what your goal is, that activating event might be joining your email list or becoming an owner or attending an event, requesting a yard sign. Those kinds of things could be the activating event that sets off this series of emails. And you really want to think about the frequency of your drip campaigns. If your co-op, for example, sends one newsletter email a month, and that's about the extent of your communication with your owners, you certainly don't want to be sending one of these a day. That doesn't necessarily jive with the history of your co-op and your communication style. However, if your co-op sends one email a month, maybe 2 a month isn't that big of a deal. So adding 1 more per month might be just what your co-op needs. And so you can decide based on what you're doing historically and how you've communicated with your owners in the past. Some co-ops specify, upfront with their ownership, hey, we're only going to email you when this happens, or when there's once a month, or when there's a vote, or when there's a big event. And so you want to make sure that you're following those same practices with your email drip campaigns, and you're not this is not an intention to spam, so to speak, someone's email. We don't want this to be a nuisance. We don't want them deleting these. We want them to read them and open them and engage with us. And using catchy subject lines is really important here. And this is important in any kind of email communication, and something that I see co-ops and others struggling with. Oftentimes, our inboxes are inundated. Hundreds of emails probably come in a day that we do or do not pay attention to. And if it has a catchy subject line, if it inspires me to open it, those are the email that get my attention. So probably I could do a whole session on creating catchy subject lines. Maybe that'll be a future Coffee with Katie, but just something to keep in mind that these should be subject lines that catch the attention of the reader. Okay, examples. So I'm going to walk through 2 examples. And actually, before we walk through those examples, I'm going to stop for a second and just see if we have questions, see if there's any comments or thoughts or questions before we get too far along. And it looks like Becky has joined us hey Becky, since I started my slide projection there. So question in the chat I see is, how about site announcement? Absolutely. And that can, that can translate to your social media as well. So if you have a site announcement coming up, a series of emails leading up to that, I think is phenomenal. But also a series of social media posts, getting people excited and engaged and interested, and maybe with the culmination being the announcement of where the site finally is. I think that absolutely could be a use of a drip campaign. Other questions or thoughts or comments before we go through some examples?
What would you consider a successful open on emails? Like what percent?
Ooh, yeah,
50%? What would you consider to be successful?
that's a great question. Average, when I'm looking at email open rates, because we're a co-op and because that's not a readily available industry, we don't have a lot of comparison. So there's no stats that tell us, there's no, I should say, stats outside of our own stats that tell us what that should be. To me, a 40 to 50% open rate is a good open rate. And if you can get above that, that's phenomenal. If you can get 50% of the people on your list looking at your email, that's pretty good. I think what I usually compare a co-op to if you're looking at industry stats is a nonprofit, because they're similar thought process in terms of engagement with a nonprofit as there is with a co-op, and their industry average is about 30%. Right. Yeah. But I see most co-ops that I'm talking with, if we're talking about open rate, I would say their open rate is in the 40s. If they're engaged, active, if they're doing the right things, if they're communicating frequently. Yes, Susan.
I suppose it might have something to do with other circumstances, like if you're coming up to a national political campaign and people are getting really, really, really inundated by emails like give money and whatever, or your party of choice, that could be important too, just the timing, if you could possibly avoid that period.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I agree. Other thoughts or questions? Okay. One of the things I tell everyone when we're talking about capital campaigns and asking for money is to get comfortable with silence. It's okay to be quiet and let everyone have the opportunity to chime in. So I try to be quiet a little bit in these sessions and allow you guys to chime in. So feel free to stick a question in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll go back to our examples here. Okay. So the first example that I'm going to share with you is someone who has just joined your email list. So let's go back here. So this is someone who maybe comes by a booth at the farmer's market or at a tabling event, and you had to join our email list sheet there, and they put their name and email address on that list. So the triggering event is this person is now receiving your emails. And so we're going to set up an email drip campaign targeted to that person and to other people who join your email list. So our goal, we would decide together, you would probably sit down with others at your co-op. In this example, the goal that we've established is to get new email subscribers to like our Facebook page. So they've joined our email list. Now we want to get them to like our Facebook page. And then after that, we might try to get them to become owners, but one step at a time. And so we want to segment our contact with them. So we really want to make sure that we can fine tune that list. Is there a way in our automated system that we can get simply targeted emails to only people who have joined our newsletter since, let's say, May 1st or whatever that date may be? And the trigger point for us to start this process is this list. So when they join the list, we start this series of emails. And our frequency is going to be 1 email a month, in addition to whatever else the co-op is sending, for 4 months. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Now we're going to look at what those emails might include. So in the first month, they're going to get an email that says, thanks for joining our email list. We're so happy you're here. Welcome to the co-op. We look forward to communicating with you, you know, and filling you in on what's happening. It's also a good opportunity for us to set expectations, to let them know that we value their privacy and that we're not going to bombard them with email, and they'll be hearing from us about once a month or every other week or whatever that target communication schedule is for us. We want to lay that out in that first email with them. In the second email, I would share the What's Not to Love About Co-op video. I don't know if you all are familiar with that video. I can send it to you. I can include it in the follow-up email, but it's a cute little 2-minute animated video that spells out what a co-op is and why they're awesome. And I think it's a fantastic video. And that might be something to include in that second email to a new subscriber. Like, hey, if you're wanting to know more about what a co-op is and why we're so excited about it, here's a cute video that, well, 2-minute video for you to watch. And then introduce them to the Facebook page. So it could be a PS. Did you know we have a Facebook page with a link to the Facebook page? Doesn't have to be asking them to do anything, just simply introducing them to the fact that we have a Facebook page. And then in the third month, we might introduce the cooperative principles, talk to them about how we're founded, why we're different, what our principles are. And then finally, that fourth month, share something valuable with them. So a seasonal recipe is a good idea. And make a direct ask in that last email. So, hey, like us on Facebook to get more seasonal recipes, or like us on Facebook to stay up to date on what's happening with the co-op. Making a direct ask in that final email. So it's a series of building information and providing resources. You want these emails to be helpful and useful, and yet purposeful. And so we get to that purpose in that fourth and final email where you're asking them to take action. Does that make sense? Questions or thoughts after that example? Yes, Susan. You're on mute.
I wonder if you tell them like to expect one email a month, but then you're also sending them the general emails that you send to everybody else. Wouldn't that be kind of contradicting what the expectation that you set for them?
Well, you want to be clear. You want to include both. So if the co-op is sending an email a month and this is an additional email a month, you would want to say, hey, we're going to send you 2 email. You're going to hear from us twice a month. You want to state accurately what's happening. Yep.
Okay.
Something that the Purple Carrot Market does is when we send out our monthly newsletter, we copy the link and then we put it on Facebook and invite people to join that way, our email list.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a great idea. A good way to join a good way to grow your mailing list. Oh, you're on mute still.
We average probably like 1 or 2 a month that will subscribe that way.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, that's 20, 25 people a month that are joining your email list that weren't hearing from you before. So that's awesome. That's a year, 25 people a year. I think I said month. Other thoughts or questions about that example? One of the drip campaigns, this one's a very short drip campaign, but it is triggered by an action that I find very successful is birthday and anniversary options. So when it's my own birthday and who does REI sends me a note on my birthday almost every year. It tells me happy birthday. Here's a coupon. I think it's fantastic. I like it. It makes me happy. I rarely use the coupon, but I like it. Makes me think, reminds me of the co-op. Oh yeah, I need to go there. I need to shop there. And then your co-op anniversary. I think that's a really phenomenal occurrence that we don't take advantage of in the cooperative world. We know when they became an owner, it's in our system. We can easily automate an email to go out on that date and say, hey, 1 year ago today, you became an owner. We're so glad you're here. Happy co-op anniversary, or whatever you want to call it. Happy co-op anniversary, happy co-op birthday. And really a great way to build engagement and communicate with owners. And you could even, there could be a PS in there too. Like, did you know we have a Facebook page? Have you volunteered at an event? Here's a sign up form, whatever it is that you want them to do as a result. It can also just be informational and a positive way to engage and say hello and congratulate them. Okay, let's look at the second example that I have here for you guys. So in this instance, okay, so this is a new co-op owner. So someone joins the co-op. And we're going to set off a series of emails to brand new owners or members. Our goal with this campaign is to get those new members to volunteer. We want them to volunteer for an event. So we have to be able to segment our owners. We want to make sure that our email platform allows us to make a list of those people. And we can set off a series of automated emails that they'll receive when they join that list. And joining the co-op is that activating events. And again, we're going to do this once a month for 4 months. So that first email, again, is welcoming them. Thanks for joining the co-op, and telling them what's on the calendar, what's happening in the next few months with the co-op. Simply that, nothing more. Month number 2, again, we're talking about the co-op principles, but this time we're going to highlight the principle of concern for community and make a direct ask to the co-op owner to like our Facebook page and or a member page. Many co-ops have member or owner Facebook groups. And if you do have one of those, this would be an excellent opportunity to highlight that and ask the new member to join that group so that they're paying attention and following along on what's happening with the co-op. In the 3rd month, a great example would be to include a testimonial from a recent volunteer, somebody who just finished working at the farmer's market, for example. You have a picture of them at the market and them saying how much fun it is and how excited they were to be there and what a beautiful day it was. And they got to shop at the farmer's market, at the same time. It was fantastic. And then share a link in that email to other volunteer opportunities that are taking place in the co-op. And in that final email, we again share that events calendar and make the direct ask. Ask them, hey, we need you. Can you help us on Saturday at 10 o'clock? Here's the link to sign up. So it moves people through that process of becoming more engaged. They've already joined the co-op. Now we want them to take the next step and volunteer. So questions or thoughts? Do you have examples or ideas of ways you might use an email drip campaign at your co-op that we haven't talked about yet today?
Hi, everybody. I don't know what happens when you are a new member because I was member 85 and that was like 7 years
Yeah.
ago. And I don't
Right?
remember if I got a welcome packet, and I don't know if our new owners get kind of a welcome stream like this, but I just went out to Facebook and checked because one of the folks who I was talking with just signed up to be an owner, and I don't see him in the closed because we have 2 Facebook groups. For our co-op, there's one that's just open to anyone, and then there's one that is segmented to owners specifically, and I don't see him in that one. I can't tell who's in the big one, but I can tell who's in the owner one, and he's not there yet. So that's a good question I'm going to ask. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that raises, this raises the whole issue of really what does happen at your co-op when someone becomes an owner. So this is just one piece of that puzzle. So, they probably are getting some kind of packets or paper or electronic documentation of their membership. And what does that look like? What does it include? It'd be a good time to review that and see how an email drip campaign might supplement that or continue that process. So maybe the first item is the packet they receive, and then the second drip is the email that includes, volunteer information. So yeah, good point, Becky.
The other thing I'll say is that we are rebranding right now. And so I could see this totally being used to announce and support the rebranding.
Absolutely. Yes, good
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
I have a
Judy.
Quick question. Do you have any examples? So we don't have a store yet,
Mhm,
and we're really flatlining on the membership.
mhm.
And we've had numerous events. We had John Steinman here a week and a half ago. We had a fundraiser 2 weeks before that. We had a bake-off last weekend. We've been out cleaning with other communities, organizations, like doing trail maintenance at the local state park, bringing a group from the co-op. But yet our membership is flat. Like we thought with John Steinman, he's like, oh, you got to have a table set up because people are going to be running to that table. We got one person signed up. So I'm not sure. I think we need a drip campaign for the non-member owners
Mhm.
and maybe the member owners so they learn how to message the
Yes,
co-op. So
yes.
maybe both groups are on it, but that's our dilemma. And the other question I have, and this might be off topic, so we can sideline it. But when I was talking to John after our event and we were talking about the membership, I was telling him that we do household membership.
Yes.
But and I did run this by Siobhan with FCI on a call. She was like, well, why do you do household? Why not individual? And that was John's point. He's got 3 people in his household, him, his wife, and his mother-in-law that all have a membership.
Mm-hmm.
When I mentioned it to Siobhan on the FCI call 2 weeks ago, she was like, why do you do household? Like, so she said her and her husband each have a membership.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering, is the norm household or is the norm individual?
Yeah, okay. That's a great question. I'll address that one first, Judy.
Okay,
I would say the norm is household.
okay,
However, there's a way to do both. So
okay,
there's no rule, there's no law that prohibits members of a household from having ownerships.
okay.
So let's say I buy, and you're with Westchester, right, Judy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm going to buy a share of Westchester ownership, and you have household membership. So my husband and I are automatically included,
Yep.
but we get one vote, right? Our household gets one vote. We have one membership.
Right.
So what you can do is market to me as an owner and say, hey, does your husband want to vote? Does your household want their own vote? Is it possible that, you have multiple adults? Do you really want to support the co-op? And if you do, you can buy both members of your household, or all members of your household can own a share of membership in the co-op.
Okay.
That's possible. So you can do both. And
Okay.
it's a good marketing technique. What I will say though, is that it gets you members and it gets you some, membership capital, but my household is no more invested than it was before outside of my membership. So probably if I'm going to make a loan, we're going to make one loan to the co-op. If I'm going to invest further, I'm not going to shop any more than I did before. So time and energy probably would be spent best expanding outside of your membership base, but it is an option. You can pursue that. It is doable. In terms of flatlining membership, you have how many owners, Judy?
518. And
518.
we started in March of 2015.
Okay.
That's why I'd be hesitant to send people happy birthdays because they might be like, oh my God, when is the store going to ever open? I'm 8 years old already.
Well, that's true. That's true. But you can address that in your
Yeah.
email. You can say happy birthday. Number one question we get asked from co-op members is when we're going to open. And we need, we're going to open when you tell your friends to join the co-op and, that kind of thing. So you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
But at some point in a co-op's development, your messaging changes. So you've seen the ownership adoption curve where you've got early adopters and then the people, the late adjusters or late adapters. And the later you get in your process, the more the messaging switches from we to me. So early from we to me.
Got it.
So early adapters are interested in the community. They want to help the environment. They want to support the economy. They want local food. They want community. The late adapters are like, hey, what's in it for me? Am I going to get a discount? Are you going to carry the foods I want? Is it going to cost a lot more money? your messaging transitions a little bit. And so as I'm listening to you, and I'd like to talk more about it with you to get more concrete information. But as I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm thinking in my mind that perhaps we're switching our messaging from we to me more. And it can be a combination of both, and it can be, we can segment lists, the people who aren't yet owners. Maybe those are the people we start the more me kinds of messaging. Like, why is this a benefit to me individually? Why is this important to my family? But that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking as I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yes, Doc.
I might mention that I didn't mean to cut you off, Ron, you first.
You're on
muted.
mute.
Whitewater does individual, and a couple of reasons. Number one, both parties in the household get the email. Number two, who's the decision maker in the household? You don't know. The person who signs up might be the shopper, but the other one might be the decision maker. So, I understand it's only going to be one, the household's going to invest, but you don't know who the decision maker is unless you get both to jump in. So,
Right.
number one, they both get an email. Number two, you for sure get the decision maker. Depends if it's the male or the female. So there's, I think, huge advantages to being an individual.
Okay. And I appreciate that. Now I will tell you a funny story. So I walk around town all the time where the store will be built. And I run into people all the time. So I run into this couple and, hugs and how you doing? What's going on with the co-op? So I'm like, oh, John Steinman's coming. And then we're having the bake off. And I said, are you not getting the emails? And so the wife goes to the husband and me, oh, he never reads the emails. So exactly to your point, he's getting the emails. She's the one that says, let's go here and let's go there and let's do this. So what you're saying is 100. So now I had to add her into the email and basically not take him off, but
Yeah.
So
Make sure they're both getting information, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yes, Buck.
And they may be a decision maker for different things. One might be the decision maker for shopping. One might be the decision maker for the capital campaign. One might be the decision maker who feels comfortable asking the neighbors to join. We got an uptick when we got a member on our board who's a bit of a computer guru and was able to set up two things for us. The first was online membership. Now, we still require a signature at some point for legal reasons on the paperwork, but they can join online and pay online, and they can choose to pay the cost of PayPal, which is about $4 or so, so that the net coming to our co-op is still the $80 that we charge for membership. So the ability to join online has seemed to make a big difference in the last 2 years roughly that we've had it. The second thing is about 2 months ago, we started having a QR code on our literature, a little sign at our table whenever we have a farmer's market or we go to somebody else's event. There's a QR code that takes them immediately, not to our home page, but to the joining page. Seems to be working very well. So we've had, where in the past, maybe 1 out of 10 new members would give you a check right there on the spot. And the rest would all say, I'll take care of it when I get home, and a quarter of them do. If you can catch them right there, they appreciate it. They really do intend to join. So you capture the moment,
Yep.
Yeah.
So the QR code's been very helpful.
Yeah. And we do the QR code and we do the membership online. Now it's interesting. Most of our members join up online. It's a rare occasion that, well, at John Steinman, they actually filled out the form, even though we had a computer. But we don't get a signature after. Is that a requirement? Or,
We're in Wisconsin.
okay,
I'm a retired business lawyer. I like to see a signature somewhere that they subscribed and that they are agreeing to receive emails.
okay,
Yeah, and
In your state,
typically,
maybe it's not that important. If
Yeah.
not, dispense with it by all means.
okay.
Keep it as
Gotcha.
simple as possible.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have some applications that come back electronically and it's signed electronically. Is
Mhm.
electronic signatures okay?
yes,
In almost all states it is, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
yeah, yeah. Once upon a time, it was, in Illinois anyways, was required to have a paper signature, but that, that's, times have changed and typically an online signature is all you need.
Folks are selling their homes with online
Right?
signatures and
Right?
buying homes and signing up for mortgages. So, yeah.
Yes, and we're seeing that happen in capital campaigns too. There are specific legal documents required to invest in a co-op, and once upon a time, those all had to be done on paper, and now we're seeing them done electronically with signatures, electronic signatures. So, yeah, times are changing. Okay, what other questions or ideas do you guys have brewing? Zettel, John, Ron's saying we use Zettel,
Yeah,
PayPal. Okay,
Yeah, Zettel is the new PayPal.
Yeah,
PayPal has been, I don't know, morphed into Zettel. And so on my smartphone, we just did away with PayPal, added Zettel. And so basically Zettel allows the credit card to scan and it automatically goes to our account, our checking account, and we receive the money. That eliminates the guy that says, yeah, I'll do it at home. And then he doesn't do it. You just say, hey, I can do it right here.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
take your credit card right now.
Yeah, let's do it. So if you don't use Zettel, check it out. Zettle.
So thanks, Ron. Do you have like one of the little readers, or how does
Yeah,
you purchase a reader?
Yeah, it plugs into your phone. Now,
Okay,
now we had like an Apple, it doesn't plug into an Apple, so that's a problem. But if you got to have an Android, and I think you got to have an older Android, is what somebody told me, which I happen to have. So it works on my phone. So it is somewhat problematic, especially with Apple people. So, but
Yeah,
my guess is Zettel has got to have something for Apple.
yeah, they do. Absolutely,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the app itself, without the tool, without the attachment, you can type in the numbers. You can take the credit card and manually type it. It takes a little longer,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but that is an option. That's a little more cost effective, but less efficient.
User friendly.
Yeah, well, yes, less user friendly. Yep.
Yeah, I know I was at a market, not a farmer's market, like a art craft show last summer. And they had the QR code for Venmo, which I use all the time.
Mm.
And so that was super slick for the same
Yeah.
reason Ron was talking about, people don't walk away. You just are like, here now, let's buy this. I have money in my Venmo account.
Let's
Yeah.
send it. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
we use Zettel for our markets that we do. And we actually were able to use Apple Pay this past weekend. So they might have just added that. So I think you might be good now.
Cool.
Great tip.
Speaking of gaining members, we've been quite successful the last couple of months as we make our update presentations to the civic clubs in our community. People signing up on the spot, and that's kind of good. They tend to be community leaders, and so having them signing, joining and becoming owners is useful, not only for the numbers, but for the potential that they are influencers and the potential that they will contribute capital in a few months when we get to that stage and so on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, at those events, I mean, those are people joining, of course, which is great, but there may be people interested in just, signing up for your email list or you know, liking your Facebook page. So those, all of these are triggering events we could use to set up an email drip campaign to continue the conversation with them so that we can move them along towards membership or activity, whatever that activity might be.
I suppose it would be useful if one can find a way to do it, to find other ways that people who receive an email from a drip campaign can up their participation in a way that we can see. I mean, I know somebody asked the question about seeing whether they opened a Facebook or opened your email, whether they signed up for, became a friend or a liker or the like, or that kind of thing. But let's see, electronic coupons don't work very well, do they? Because they're so easy to fake, the counterfeit. Do you have any other thoughts, Katie, about things you can give people that shows they read your email? Things of value. You talked about recipes, for instance, as one of the.
Right.
one of
Okay.
the
So you're
incentives.
talking about what to include in the email as a enticement.
I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I suppose we could tell them about an upcoming sale in the store that they're
Right.
entitled to participate in. There's certainly that. I
Yeah.
suppose we could also have very specialized things to sell. This is for people who already got an open store, you know.
Right. For an open
If you
store.
come in with
Mhm.
code number so-and-so, your coffee is only 7 cents instead of 8 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what if you had partnerships, you know, if you had other businesses within your community
yeah.
who were supportive, you know, that if you open this email, you get a free cup of coffee at such and such coffee shop, or whatever, that might be one avenue. And I had another thought and it escapes me now.
Well, you
Oh,
got
I
my
know.
email.
Well, if you were doing like a promotion to grow a certain number of owners a certain number of days, like if you get 20 owners this month, then something happens. So that could be what you're telling them, you know, become an owner. And if we get 20 owners, then everybody gets a $10 gift card to blah, 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 or everyone gets entered into a drawing to win blah, blah, blah. So absolutely, I think a drip campaign could work really well in that kind of a promotion. And I see that Darlene has their hand raised, and if anyone else has answers to Buck's question or suggestions, chime in. But go ahead.
We were
Darlene.
talking about electronic payments online. So my question to the group is, we have, I don't know, about 20, 25 people that have made an initial payment on a payment plan, and then they never made another payment.
Mhm.
And so how do you get that second and third and fourth payment until they're paid up? What do groups do?
I can tell you what we do in Westchester. We had that issue. We had about 2 years ago, we had a period where like 6 people in like a month window said they paid and not one payment came through. So what we did was we set up a system that when I get the membership paperwork that comes through online, I fill out a form and set to the accounting people and say, you know, Judy Carino signed up on this date. You should receive, you know, she's going to do $100 down and then 12 payments. And you need to look for the $100 credit card, you know, and once they get it, they acknowledge, okay, Judy is set up for her PayPal. The next time Judy misses a payment, so say I make 2 or 3 and then all of a sudden something stops, then the treasurer reaches out with an email or a phone call or both to say, hey, did your credit card expire? Because your payment stopped after 3 payments. And most people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me get this caught up. I'll send a check. So we've had that, but we are doing better at following up. We still have a handful that they stopped $75 short of the $400 payment. And we're not giving up. But for the most part, usually the one phone call or email, they get back on track.
Yeah, Susan.
And if they have a PayPal account, I think they can paying in installments, but you would get the money up front, right? Like I always get these things with PayPal when I'm paying, I could pay the full amount right now, or I could pay in 4 installments, but I think the receiver gets all of the money up front, and then the person paying pays PayPal in installments. Does that sound familiar to other people? I've never used that, but
I don't know about that.
Not for Westchester. They actually can pick $400, like a one-time credit card fee. They can pick, they're gonna send a check to the post office box. Or they have 2 payment plans, $100 down and $25 payments for 12 months. Or they can just do $16, $25 payments for, 16 months, $25, no interest. Those are their like 4 options. But we don't get all the money up front.
yeah, I think this is actually through PayPal. It's not a choice that you get involved in, but I
Like
see
the,
that
the user
option when I
chooses
pay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. That might be something to look into. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed with payment plans, Darlene, is that it takes managing. Someone has to be on that task and pretty regularly on it. And I like the system you guys have set up, Judy. It sounds like very few things are falling through the cracks that way. But if there is a slew of them, if you have a number, I think you said a good number, Judy, if I remember
Yeah, that
right.
period of time was horrible.
Yeah, if there is a number, I think person to person contact is your best bet. Call them up,
Yep.
say, hey, what's going on? We notice you haven't paid. That would be what I would start with, and then create a system that allows that to not happen. So those things not to fall through the cracks. Yeah, Ron.
Just a quickie, for those of us who do tabling at markets, a lot of people, or a lot of people walk past and say, yeah, not interested. So I raise zinnias, and then I cultivate those seeds every year, and I have seed packets of zinnias. And I often say then, as they walk past, well, hey, would you like a free pack of seeds for zinnias? They come up beautifully, they flower, dandelions, butterflies, all that kind of stuff. Well, they come back for the free seeds. And I said, I would say then the only condition is we have your email. Oh, okay. So we capture an email that never really stopped because they want that free seed of zinnias.
Mhm.
Now you got to plan ahead a little bit. You got to harvest the seeds and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, there's hardly a person that walks past without taking a bag of seeds.
Okay,
You
so
could
that's
put
a,
you could put a
Go ahead.
QR code on the packet too.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect group for an email drip campaign. And I can see the whole campaign being around zinnias and their growth cycle. And hey, if you planted your zinnia seeds, this is what you can expect,
Yeah.
but also talk about the co-op, work that in there. I think that'd be cool.
Well, that's a great idea because my bed is in the sun. I also have instructions in there where you plant them, when you plant them, because in Wisconsin, like right now to go plant them, it doesn't work. You got to wait until the soil is warm for it to germinate and do all those kinds of things. But the key, Katie, is I could take pictures of my bed and include it in that email
Heck
and say, hey,
yeah.
here is my bed,
Uh-huh.
because
Yes.
I also have pictures from last year of what the bed looked like. So yeah, so I don't tackle them when they walk by, but it's darn close.
Well, I think this is the perfect opportunity for an email drip campaign, Ron. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I agree.
All right, we're getting close on time here. Might have room for one more question if someone else has a question or a comment to share. Okay, well, I look forward to hearing back from you guys. I'd like you to tell me if you use an email drip campaign and what you were measuring and how successful it was. I'll send a follow-up email as I always do with a link to the recording. And I'll include a link to the What's Not to Love co-op video, just in case you don't have it. So you can use that if you want to, and you're welcome to forward that to anyone within your co-op that you'd like to take a look at this session. So
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Katie.
hope you guys have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day.
All right.
Thank
see
you.
Great
everybody.
ideas. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep, bye.